Hello, students, and welcome to our second week in Nursing Research Lecture. For this video, we will talk about the different terminologies that revolve around nursing research. When you do a research or a study, which you can use interchangeably, this refers to actions that is aimed to solve a particular problem. When you do your research or study in a clinical setting, you're actually doing a clinical study. Now, since we want to address health problems holistically, we want to ask the expertise of other people. When we add other people into our research, no, other experts in our research, we are actually doing a collaborative study. Now, research in healthcare usually is done among people, among human subjects or study participants. But these two have a great difference because when we say subjects or human subjects, these are the people, no, wherein you introduce something in the course of your study. For example, you wanted to study a COVID vaccine, the effectiveness of a COVID vaccine, and you introduce it, no, to people and observe the effects. If you introduce something into these people, then these people are considered research subjects. But if you only get data from them and not introduce something to them, you are referring to them as study participants or respondents. In qualitative research, since respondents play an important role, no, in the completion of the study, we term to them as informants. Okay? Or sometimes we call them key informants because these people are necessary to provide salient data that could help us explain our qualitative research. Those who do research are called researchers. No? Or sometimes we can use the term investigator interchangeably. Okay? Sometimes we do a research with the supervision of an expert. This supervisor will always be termed as the primary investigator. Okay? Research is done in a naturalistic setting, no? Or can be done in naturalistic setting or laboratory setting. When we say naturalistic setting, we conduct our research, no, in an environment with no manipulation. We just observe them as they be. But in the laboratory setting research or a research done in laboratory setting, we do a research in a much more controlled environment where we remove the effects of extraneous variables because we're not interested into their effects. Okay? To increase the generalizability of our study, we refer to multi-site studies or a study that is conducted in different settings. Okay? Now, in research, we also study phenomena or a natural happening to our environment. Now, phenomena can be partly explained scientifically by theories, which is composed of concepts, which is which are abstract, no, abstraction of the theory, no, or a construct, no, which is an abstraction which can be a more flexible abstraction of your theory. Now, in the course of your research, you will also encounter variables. Okay? As the name implies, it is something that vary. Variables are the building blocks of your research. Okay? And that these variables, as the word suggests, will vary. Never we had a variable that is constant. Okay? When we say our variable is black hair is black hair all throughout. It does not vary. But when we say variable as hair color, it can be considered as a variable because hair color may vary as black, blonde, red, no? And other colors. So when your variables are conceptually defined, your variables are defined based, no, or based on a universally accepted definition. It can be found in your textbook, in your dictionary, or any reference book, no? And is applied consistently all throughout. When we say operational definition, we define the variable based on how we use it in our research. No? Kaya nga po tinawag na operational because it depends upon our own operation in research. Okay? Now, in the course of your research, you will also encounter data or the pieces of information that you get, no, along your course of investigation. You will also encounter the word or the term relationship, no, or your proposed association between variables. Okay? Your relationship can be causal, ibig sabihin cause and effect relationship, or it can be an associative, just have a relationship between the two variables. Now, this relationship can be uh, can be stated, no, in a form of expectation, which is your hypothesis. No, hypothesis or hypothesis is a statement of your expectation on the relationship of your variables. Huh? Now, during the course also of your research, you will encounter the words reliability, validity, trustworthiness. When we say reliability, this refers to the consistency of your data. Consistency and repeatability. When we say reliability or when we say our results are reliable, it means that our data, no, can be obtained again and again given the same situation, given the same circumstances, given the same data collection protocol. No? That refers to your reliability. When we say validity, this is a deeper concept, no? In terms of data, in terms of our data. When we say validity, this refers to the convincing dimension of your data. Kapani-paniwala ba yung inyong data? No? That is the aspect that is addressed by validity. No? Is your data really the cause, no, of your experiment? That's your that aspect is answered by your validity. No? Gaano ka-cogent, gaano ka-convincing ang inyong data. Trustworthiness, okay? Trustworthiness is the refers to para rin siyang validity. It's like validity, no? But it's more aptly applied sa qualitative research, no? It refers to the truthfulness also, no, of your data, of your qualitative data. The next concept that you will encounter is your bias. Your bias is your preference, no? Which can be reflected into your research data, which may alter the truthfulness of your data. Okay? By any means, our research should be free of bias, no? Kung hindi free, at least limited yung bias. And to minimize bias, we impose research controls. No? Research controls. Now, what are those research controls? One of them would be randomness. No? Randomness or assigning everything, designing everything in our research in random, no, eliminates the element of bias. Okay? So in quantitative research, one primary way or one good way to ensure that bias is or to ensure bias is does not affect our data is to impose research control. Okay? Marami pong klase ng randomness na random designs, no? Na pwedeng gawin sa inyong research. It can be random assignment, it can be random sampling, no? It could be in the form of random treatment, no? And the likes. So those are the ways to control bias when it comes to randomization. When we say reflexivity, this is making us aware of our own prejudice on a particular data collection method. Sometimes, more often, reflexivity is applied in qualitative research. It is applied in qualitative research because in reflexivity, you try to understand your own judgment, your own presupposition, your own uh, your own disposition on a certain topic that you research. It's like making aware of your values on a certain topic na nire-research mo. Why do we need to make aware of our values when we do qualitative research? Because it may affect on how we perceive the data that we get from our respondents. No? Baka mamaya sobrang rigid ng iyong ng iyong data collection mindset na hindi mo na nakukuha yung kabuuan ng message ng isang respondent. Well, in fact, ang dami pala niyang sinasabing iba pa. No? So imagine niyo siya yung nakakatakip doon sa mata ng kabayo. When you collect data and you have rigid reflexivity, kung rigid yung inyong reflexivity, ang chances are, ang makukuha mong data, limited lang. Hindi mo na makukuha yung iba pa. Kasi hindi ka aware na meron kang rigid reflexivity. Pero kung ikaw ay open-minded, no? You open your mind to other possibilities for this particular phenomenon na ino-observe mo, then you can get much more from what the person is saying. So that's how reflexivity is important in qualitative research. Okay? Now, when we say generalizability, this is the applicability of your research to other setting, to other group of population. This is applicable for quantitative research. But in qualitative research, we use we refer to transferability, or the applicability of our findings, to other setting with the same situation. So I have grouped, the terms that is applied for quantitative studies and qualitative studies. Okay? So those who belong those that belong to quantitative study, dito nyo po makikita yan. And those who are in qualitative study, dito nyo po mailalagay yon. Okay? Now, there are several types of research. Let's now go to the different types of research reports. Research reports can be in two forms. Okay? It can be presented, or it can be reports can be obtained, from presentations at professional conferences or from research journal articles. Okay? When we say presentation at professional conferences, this refer to the conference, no? Mga seminar, mga gathering ng mga experts and practitioners, no? Tapos may magpe-present ng research doon sa conference na 'yon. It can be in the form of oral presentation kung saan pine-present mo in public yung paper mo, no, in a forum, or it can be in the form of poster presentation or sessions, or the visual display which displays your summarized study. Okay? The second type of research report, no, na pagkukunan ng research report ay yung tinatawag na research journal article. I know some of you may have encountered this during your RLE, no? Where when your CI asks you to critique a research, no? And reflect on its implication. Yan. Yung mga kinukuha ninyo sa internet, those are research journal articles. Okay? Now, these are reports that summarize the study in professional journals. Now, these forms or these researches are condensed. Bakit siya kino-condense? Ibig sabihin sinisiksik, no? Why is it condensed? Because publications usually limit, no, the number of words because they want to make things cost efficient, no? So they condense the manuscript, no, that is submitted by authors to the journal, and then ipi-peer review siya, no? So what do we mean when we say peer reviewing? When we say peer reviewing, this is the process of critiquing the paper, no, to authors, no, of the same field, to reviewers na of the same field nung nag-submit nung research. So for example, nag-submit ako ng research, no? This research submitted to a journal will be subjected to peer review. So my paper will be sent to other professionals of my same domain. So kung nurse ako, or kung nurse yung article ko, my reviewer should be nurses. So that's peer review. So the purpose of peer review is to examine the content of the paper, whether it is truthful, no, follows the rigors of the research before they accept it for publication. Okay? Peer review is not a one-way process. It is usually a process of editing, revising, resubmitting, editing, no? It's a continuous process until mag-agree yung mga peer reviewers mo on the content, no, of your paper. Now, usually your papers or your journal articles are formatted in the form of IMRAD, no, or the IMRAD format, which can be defined, or kapag dinefine natin isa-isa, as introduction, methods, results, discussion, references. Your papers in research will be following the Germanic model, no, of writing the paper. Now, the Germanic model always contain the chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5. Tapos sa chapter 1 may content na the background of the problem, no, research problem, significance of the problem, some and the like, no. A detailed format yung Germanic model. Now, in professional journals kasi, they tend to condense the content, no? Kasi nga gusto nilang maging efficient yung pagpa-publish. So they limit it to around 3,000 to 6,000 words per article. So to do it, no, to compress the Germanic of having 5 chapters, ginawa niya the new format that is used, or the publication format that is used, will always be in IMRAD format, no? Kung saan nakasulat lang po yung introduction, yung methods, yung results, yung discussion. In the introduction, dito magfo-fall yung research problem mo, yung background of the problem, and even your review of related literature. Okay? Now, in your methods, this section contains on how you did your research. Anong methods ang ginamit mo? Nag-interview ka ba? Ikaw ba ay nag-introduce ng intervention? How did you collect your data? How did you analyze, no, your data? So dito 'yon magfo-fall sa methods. In the results part, dito mo i-discuss or dito nakalagay kung ano yung mga findings, no? Ano yung findings ng research, no? Dito mo usually makikita yung mga numbers na nakuha ng mga researchers, no? Dito mo siya makikita. Even the statistical test, no? The result of statistical test. So after the results, the researchers need to discuss the implications of that. So dito papasok 'yon sa discussion part. No? Dito nila i-interpret what does this particular data mean? Ano ang ibig sabihin nito? Okay? What is the implication of this data? Okay? So the discussion part contains the interpretations of the finding. So the last part will be always for reference, no? Dito po makikita yung listahan ng mga reference nila, no? Yung inspiration ng kanilang study, yung pinagkunan nila ng idea and the likes, no? Dito po 'yun mapupunta sa references. Okay? Now, to summarize everything, syempre when you are searching for a research, no, to support your study, when you do your literature review, hindi naman practical na basahin mo lahat ito just to find a relevant literature. So to get a bird's eye view of the whole research, you read the abstract. Okay? Now, the abstract is sometimes presented as in a traditional form. Pag sinabing traditional form, one paragraph lang siya. Okay? Walang labels or whatsoever. So, isang paragraph lang. When we say the abstract is in new style, then the abstract is presented by portion as it appears in your paper. No? So yung abstract, meron ding label na introduction, may methods, may results, may discussion, even conclusions and recommendations. It is important to read first the abstract because this is the bird's eye view of your study. Ito yung pinaka gist, no? Summary nung study. Dito mo malalaman kung ang study mo ba, ang study ba na ito ay relevant sa aking topic? Okay? So dito mo makikita 'yon. Okay? So here are some parts of the research. Okay? So I leave this one to you to study at home, no? And now we proceed to your review of literature. Now, your review of literature or your chapter 2 is important because it formulates or clarifies your research problem. Okay? Primarily, kailangan mong gumawa ng literature review because you want to substantiate the rationale behind your study. Okay? It is also important to minimize duplication kasi baka mamaya may kapareho ka na palang topic. Okay? And even acquaint you with theory and research strategies. Sometimes you don't know how to go about your research, no? Hindi mo alam kung paano ka magko-collect ng data, kung paano mo gagawin ng data collection, no? To do it, no? You can get an idea from related literature when you for you to collect your data. Pwede 'yon. Okay? It's also important to do related literature because you want to acquire knowledge on the topic and even evaluate current practices. Always remember when you do related literature, recognize the primary sources or the sources of literature, be it a primary or secondary or tertiary sources. Okay? When we say primary source, these are sources that are prepared by the author themselves. So for example, ako gumawa ako ng research, I write the research, no, paper, and that paper is your reference. Okay? That thesis is your reference. Then that is a primary source. If you refer to a source that is written by the author themselves, then that's a primary source. If you use secondary resources or sources, you use sources that are summarized by other people, no? That are summarized by other people or prepared by other people. For example, you referred to a periodical or a journal which was prepared by other people, no? Other than the author. Then that's your secondary source. A tertiary source is like secondary source, no? But it is something that is synthesized by the author using his senses. Paano yon? If someone consolidated, no? Consolidated a report from a press conference, kunwari, press conference, nabibigay ako ng lecture, no? O ganito na lang, no? If you're taking down notes, of my lecture, you use your senses, you use your eyes, you use your ears, and then you write down your notes. When you write down your notes, that notes, no, yun ay tertiary source. Because you prepared it for yourself, no, based on what you understood from my research. Therefore, those reliable sources, no, based on the definition, will always be your primary source. Kasi kung tertiary source yan, no, there can be alterations in what a person has stated. No? Kaya pala, kapag hiniram ng classmate mo yung notes mo, hindi niya maintindihan minsan. Kasi, sinulat mo yung notes mo na yon based sa pagkakaintindi mo. Sometimes, yung pagkakaintindi mo, iba naman sa pagkakaintindi ng kaklase mo. So, tertiary sources are the least reliable sources, no, for you to use in your literature review. Okay? So, when you do related literature review or literature review, you have to use some bibliographic aids para mahanap mo. Okay? It can be in the form of indexes or indices, kung saan compilation siya ng mga catalog, no, ng mga titles nung hinahanap mong research. Okay? Sabi ko kanina, you can use your abstract, no, when you read your paper. Para mabilis mong maintindihan or magets yung content ng laman ng isang research, you read the abstract. Okay? Then you decide whether it's relevant or not. Okay? Or even use computer searches. No? In your age, it's easy to do. It's easier. No, it's not easy. It's easier to do research because you can use your computers, no, to search for databases online, no, or for indexes online. Some of you are using this. Medline, PubMed, no? May iba paid subscription, yung Science Direct, EBSCOhost, etc. No? Okay? Now, here are some tips, no, when you write your literature review. First is to identify and locate your relevant references. No? Easy, because you need to identify which one is relevant, which one is not. Okay? You can use keywords. No? When you search for references online, okay, you can use keywords. For example, ang topic ninyo ay job satisfaction ng nurses, type nyo ang keyword na nurse job satisfaction. No? So the search engine will give you possible results that might be relevant for you. All right? So after locating the relevant references, organize your literature or make a summary table which contains the following columns: your topic, the author reference, the variables of the study, the methods or the procedures, the results and conclusions, and your remarks on that particular literature. The next step is to write the literature review itself. No? Kapag gumawa kayo ng chapter 2, I'm not expecting to write for you to write a table. No? Your table is just an aid. Okay? You have to write it in paragraph form, no? In chapter 2. Now, I expect that your literature review is a paraphrase, no? Is a summary, is a synthesis, no? Or an evaluation of the paper, no? Of the papers that you have examined. Sa madaling salita, i-evaluate ninyo in your own words kung ano ba yung content, no? Nung research na iyon. It should not be a summary or a series of quotes or abstracts. No? Huwag nyo kopyahin yon. That's plagiarism and that's not an original work. Okay? And I want you to point out consistencies, no? Contradictions inside the literature. You should also compare findings in different literature and can be grouped together and summarized. Okay? And be objective as possible. So when we say being objective, you provide supporting evidences for that research or for that claim in your literature review. Okay? Now, after writing your literature review, no, conclude with a summary or overview of literatures that you have reviewed and make note of any research gap in the literatures. Okay? And acknowledge the authors using the APA format. The APA format requires you to have an in-text citation, later on which we will discuss, and also a list of reference or bibliography, which is located at the last part of your paper. Okay, just after your chapter 5. No? Now, the APA format of citation looks like this. I know some of you are familiar with this, no? But I would like to reiterate, no, kung ano ang itsura ng APA format. Now, there are two main categories that we will discuss in APA citation, no? A book entry and a journal entry. Okay? I know some of you can read the whole format or the whole manual of the APA format, no, online, but I would emphasize two, no, entries: your book entry and journal entry. For book entries, always remember to start with the surname of the first author, the primary author, comma, followed by his first name, initial, and period. Now, if there are two authors in your research or in the book that you cite, okay, follow it with an ampersand. Okay, ampersand. Or the word and. Okay? Pwede naman and. And then follow it with the second, the name of the second author. Ang format, mauna ang surname, comma, followed by the first name, initial. Period. After that is to present your date of publication. This year indicates the date of publication or the year of publication. Okay? In writing your APA format APA citation, yung year of publication should always be expressed in year. Hindi na dapat lagyan ng September, hindi na dapat lagyan ng 12, no, ng date, no, just the year. Okay? Which is enclosed in parentheses. After that, you follow it with the period, space, and the title of your publication or the title of the book. Now, here's a rule when writing the title of the book. Okay? Or the title of the article. Kasi mamaya ganun din eh. In writing the title of the book or the article, always follow sentence case. Okay? Pag sinabing sentence case, yung first letter ng first word is capitalized and then the rest will be small letters. Except for proper nouns, Okay? For proper nouns or scientific names. Again, kapag nilagyan ng scientific name, di ba dalawang part yon, yung genus and species name. Sa genus name, that will be capitalized yung first letter ng genus name. Yung species name will remain small. No? So that's it. Okay? Ulitin ko ha. When writing the title of the book, it should be in sentence case, except for proper nouns and scientific names. Okay? The next step when you write your bibliography or your title of the book in your bibliography, italicize the title of the book. No? Igawin yung italics. Okay? As you can see in this example. If your book comes in edition, no, as for this example, ipasok lang as parenthesis and lagay lang po yung number ng edition niya and the initials ed dot. No? Close parenthesis and then period. So after the title and the edition, we now indicate the address of the publisher. No? The address of the publisher. The address of the publisher is not the complete address. Okay? But rather write the address of the publisher in terms of the city where it is published or it is located. So for this example, Orlando, Florida. Okay? So after the place of publication, indicate a colon, space, your Harcourt, and the name of the publisher, which is your Harcourt Publishers, and ends with a period. Now, your bibliography should be displayed in hanging indent. So when we say hanging indent, the first line is in normal indent, the second and succeeding lines will be moved or flushed to the right, no? Flushed 1 inch to the right. Okay? Papasok mo lang siya ng isang indent to the right. Okay? The second type of entry that we will use is yung journal entry, yung madalas na ginagamit, yung journal entry. Sa journal entry, you have to indicate the date or the names of the authors. Again, names of the authors. Now, mapapansin niyo this time 3 authors. Okay? Sa 3 authors, you indicate them in the list of authors. Sir, may nakikita po kasi kaming mga journal entries na may et al. So what is the ruling for et al? In APA 6th edition, you can insert up to 7. No? Dapat kung 7 authors yan, kung 7 authors or less, you have to indicate all the authors. Okay? That's for the 6th edition. Pero may lumabas na kasing bago, yung APA 7th edition, which says that we need to indicate up to 20 authors. Grabe, di ba? So you have to cite all the authors. No? Kung less than 20 yan, dapat naka-indicate pa rin. No? Kung less than 20 or kung more than 20, you can have, you can state the authors ng 20, tapos after the 20th author, you indicate an ellipsis, yung triple dot, and then the last author. So for example, you have 25 authors. You indicate the 20, then stop on the 20th, indicate a triple dot or an ellipsis, and then indicate the last author. Sir, dapat po ba alphabetical ang pag-indicate ng author? Hindi po. No? Usually, your authors are displayed based on the merits, no? Yung order nila based doon sa merits nila, being the highest, yung may highest merit sa research being listed first. No? So for example, etong si Lee, no, has the highest merit among MacDonald and Chang. O kaya minsan si Lee, siya yung primary author and these are his subordinates. Pwedeng ganon. So kung papaano pinresent ng journal yung kanyang mga authors, yun yung susundin ninyo in citation. Okay? So after writing down your authors, you indicate the date, no, which is enclosed in parentheses. And you, after that parentheses, you place a dot. You now place the title of the article. Now the title of the article is in sentence case. Okay? Now, I forgot to mention this, but in both in book and journal entries, kapag meron kayong subtitles, no? Subtitles, always indicate it in colon. Okay? Then the succeeding word, no, or the succeeding subtitle should be also indicated in sentence case. Ibig sabihin, dapat yung first letter ng first word should be capitalized, no? And then sentence case yung to follow. Same rule applies for scientific name, proper nouns. Okay? And then after writing the title, place a period and then indicate the title of the journal where this paper appeared. Kung anong journal siya lumabas. Okay? In our exercise, you will learn, or in the activity that I will give you, you will be having a hands-on feel, no? Kung paano mo kukunin or hahanapin yung title of the journal. Okay? So, for this particular example, ang pangalan ng journal niya ay Journal of Heart and Lung. Okay? Now, the title of the journal should be in title case. Okay? Ang ruling ng title case, dapat words, no, that are 3 or more letters or 4 or more letters should be capitalized yung first letter ng word na yun. Okay? So that's the title case ruling. Okay? Unless the word is a preposition. Okay? So for this one, Journal of Heart and Lung, in-indicate yung journal as capital letter kasi more than 3 words, more than 3 letters. Ganun din sa heart, ganun din sa lung. Okay? So yung of, no, ginawang small case. Alright? So after indicating the title of the journal, you succeed it with a comma, then you get the volume number. So the volume number is yung kasunod na ilalagay, which is italicized, no, as well as the title of the journal. And also, after indicating the volume number, you indicate after the issue number. So the issue number should be enclosed in parentheses and then dun ilalagay yung number. Then after the number, indicate a comma and then next would be the pages. No? So tandaan, this number pertains to volume, this number pertains to issue, this number pertains to pages. Sir, paano po pag walang volume number, walang issue number, no? You can proceed, no? You can proceed as it is, kung paano siya pinresent. Just omit the part na wala. Usually, ang wala dyan, itong issue number. So the volume numbers will always be noted and also the page number. Okay? So that's how you write a journal entry in APA format. For other formats, you may always use your APA format journal manual for publication ng APA into APA format. Okay? It's available in the internet. I will also make it available as a link into our Canvas, no? Or in our group chat or in our Facebook page. Okay? So I leave this one for you to answer. May lecture notes kayo. Pakisagutan po, no? Based on my lecture or what I have instructed you a while ago. Tandaan lang po na when you place an APA format, no, tinatanggal na po, tinatanggal na po yung mga ah, yung mga nominals, no, na ibinibigay na or yung titles ng tao. Kunwari, Miss Amy J. Barton. No? You omit the Miss, and this one, in this case, may RN man, you also omit this. So ang lalabas lang sa citation is Barton, comma, A. Alright? So you remove the nominal credentials, no, ng tao. You remove the title, salutary titles, or what? Basta ang usapan sa APA format, surname, no, comma, first name, initial. Okay? Now, we're done with literature review. We now proceed, no, the second important part of your research paper, of your chapter 2, which is your conceptual framework, no? Conceptual framework or theoretical framework. When we say conceptual or theoretical framework, okay, these are two different concepts and should appear one uh, singly in your paper. Ibig sabihin, kung gagamit ka ng kung gagamit ka ng conceptual framework sa paper mo, conceptual framework lang. Kung gagamit ka ng theoretical framework sa paper mo, theoretical framework lang. Kasi kapag ka magkaiba ang ginamit mo or pareho mo silang ginamit, the direction of your paper would be in different, no, directions. Parang sinusunod mo to, pero ito naman sinusunod mo din. So parang ano ba talaga? Ano ba talagang susundin mo? So what's the difference between a conceptual framework and a theoretical framework? When you refer to a concept, no, or to a phenomena or to an explanation which is not, no, scientifically explained, no? For example, yung konsepto ng input, process, output, no? Wala namang teorya na nagsasabi nun eh, no? Wala namang teorya na nagsasabi na at pag may input ka, may process ka, may output ka, no? So, yung mga yon, yung explanation na yon is not scientifically grounded. So therefore, it's considered as a concept, no? A concept. Now, if you use a concept, your framework is a conceptual framework. Now, if you use theories, no, yung mga theories na nag-explain a part of your reality, okay? A part of your reality, then that's a what you call this? That's those theories, no, are when you apply it as a framework for your study, this is now your theoretical framework. Okay? So ang gist dito, when I see your paper, when I ask you to write your paper, your chapter 2, you have to choose between the two. Okay? How will you choose between the two? No? Tignan kung ano yung central element ng inyong research. No? Sa nursing research, we usually use the central elements of person, environment, health, and nursing. And also, timbangin din natin, we have to weigh in whether our study is grand in scale, no? Kasi when our study is grand in scale, ibig sabihin malawak ang sakop, then we use a grand or macro theory. A theory that always encompass every setting. If your theories, no, if your study or wants to only explain, no, wants to explain only a certain part of reality, no, you use your middle range theory. Okay? Ano yung most nursing theories are middle range theories. No, because they explain only a portion of your reality, no? For example, yung kay Patricia Benner, it only explains a part of reality of nursing, which is, no, growing from novice to expert nurse. So it's a middle range theory. Right? It can be in the form of your theories that you use. It can be in the form of borrowed theories. Okay? Pag sinabing borrowed theories, these are theories that we borrow from other profession and apply it to our practice. No? One best example of borrowed theory is the theory of Patricia Benner, which is borrowed from the Dreyfus model of skill acquisition. Okay? The Dreyfus the Dreyfus model of skill acquisition is actually designed for pilots. Was actually designed for pilots. Dreyfus postulated, or he said that pilots need to have experience and education, no, to improve their flying skills. No? Flying skills hindi yung paglipad nila, kundi yung pagpapalipad ng eroplano. No? Benner caught on this and applied it into the nursing profession. Hence, nagkaroon ng expert as novice to expert theory. Okay? It can be the form of shared theory, no? You can use shared theories, which are theories na pwede sa one profession and the other. No? Pwedeng theory yung theory ng general adaptation on stress can be applied in any profession or any domain. So here are some of the theories. No, I know you have taken this in your theoretical foundations in nursing. Now that you can use in your research paper. Okay. Now, after identifying your theoretical framework, no, you need to always remember when you create conceptual framework, no? When you create conceptual framework, understand or theoretical framework, understand that this is important because it serves as a skeleton for your study. No? It serves as a skeleton for your study. Sabi ko kanina, when you do research, hindi ko pala sabi kanina. Sabi ko last time na when you do research, no, most especially quantitative research, you take on a deductive reasoning, no, technique. Nagsisimula from what is known and apply to a specific situation, from general to specific. Now, conceptual or theoretical frameworks, no, provide you with a skeleton for this deductive reasoning. So, without a theory in mind, you cannot test, no, whether your variables, no, have relationship or not, or don't have. No? So it's important that you develop or identify your conceptual or theoretical framework, because this will be the basis, no, of your hypothesis. Dito nyo kukunin yung hypothesis ninyo. So kung wala kang literature review, wala kang conceptual framework, papaano mo nasabi na ang iyong research hypothesis, no, ay tama? Okay? So kumbaga, when you state your hypothesis, you should have an a priori knowledge, yung knowledge before, okay, for you to draw your hypothesis. Okay? Now, because hypotheses are a statement of relationships between two or more variables. Okay? This explains how your variables behave, no, in a certain phenomena na pinag-aaralan mo, that you are studying. Okay? Now, hypotheses can be categorized according to complexity. It can be in a simple form or a complex hypothesis. Pag sinabing simple, there are only two, no, variables that you examine. While a complex hypothesis, okay, can be described, no, as having three or more variables. When we say variables or hypotheses no, when we classify them according to relationship, it can be an associative hypothesis or a causal hypothesis. Pag sinabing associative, you just identify, no, you just identify how these two are related to each other, no? You are just interested on the presence of relationship between two variables. Unlike causal hypothesis, which you look into a cause and effect relationship, no? Cause and effect relationship have much more implication than associative relationships. Kasi associative relationship can be influenced by other factors, no? Yun yung iyong mode ng pag-iisip pag associative relationship. Pero pag causal relationship or causal hypothesis, ang tinitignan mo cause and effect, no? A much stronger relationship, no? Without the effect of other variables over that outcome na hinahanap mo or inoobserbahan mo. Okay? Now, hypothesis can be classified according to direction. It can be directional. Pag sinabing directional, the hypothesis contains words, no? Or the hypothesis contains notions of where the relationship is going. Or a non-directional hypothesis which indicates only just a mere relationship. Okay? Pag sinabi pong directional hypothesis, one of the keywords here, no, when you examine a hypothesis, is the presence of the words positive, negative, direct, indirect, no? Kung naaalala ninyo ang inyong algebra or yung inyong mga mathematics, no? When we say there is a direct, no, relationship between variables, it means that an increase in your x variable will also induce an increase in your y variable. If you say that your relationship is inverse, then you say that an increase in one variable will reduce or will result to a decrease in another variable or vice versa, no? Or vice versa. Now, non-directional hypothesis will always be signified, no, na kapag ang konteksto ng iyong hypothesis ay meron lang relationship, there's a relationship. Okay? So, yun po ang difference between a directional and non-directional hypothesis. And lastly, we can classify our variables based on function or purpose. When we say research variable, this is a variable that is your statement, no, of the relationship between two or more variables. Okay? And also, it can be in a form of statistical hypothesis, which is a statement of equality between variables. Now, statistical hypothesis, as the name would suggest, is useful for deciding, no, for deciding after you get your statistical analysis. Now, yung statistician ninyo, yung magiging statistician ninyo, will use this statistical hypothesis, the null hypothesis, as a basis for decision making in your research. No? So, what would I expect you to write in your paper? When you write your hypothesis in your research paper, I will always expect a research hypothesis. Okay? Bakit? Kasi let's have an example of statistical hypothesis, no? Kapag sinabing statistical hypothesis, ang sasabihin niya, there is no association between the variables. No? If your hypothesis in research is always stated as a statement of equality or a statement of no association, then why would we need to research at all? Tama? If you're not expecting anything from these two variables, then why do you need to state your research, your null hypothesis? Bakit kailangan pa natin gawin yung research ninyo? Wala namang association between actual age and perception of aging. Huwag na lang natin gawin, wala naman pala eh. 'Di ba? It doesn't make sense to state your research, your statistical hypothesis, okay? Your statistical hypothesis into such. So therefore, ang i-require ko sa inyo is to write your hypothesis in research hypothesis or in research form. Meaning, hindi po ninyo sasabihin na there is no. Kung hindi, there is an association between actual age and perception of aging among blank, 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 blank. Okay? Now, when writing your hypothesis, okay, always state the expected relationship or difference between two or more variables. Okay? Ang importante, dapat may dalawang variables at kung ano yung expected relationship nyo between the two. Now, these variables must be measurable, okay, and testable. Kasi we need to measure it so that we can perform statistical testing to arrive into a decision, no? Or to arrive into a conclusion. And that the stated relationship must be consistent with existing theory. Ito yung sinasabi natin kanina sa theoretical or conceptual framework. And the knowledge and logical reasoning. No? Ito naman nagpe-pertain doon sa research, doon sa review of related literature ninyo. Okay? So kaya pala, no, bago tayo gumawa ng hypothesis, we should have, no, a review of related literature and a consistency or a theory, no, existing theory where we can attach that hypothesis. Kasi class, kung ang inyong hypothesis ay kinuha nyo lang sa kung saan, that will stand nowhere. No? Hindi siya tatayo. Okay? So you got to have a basis for your hypothesis. And that is your literature review and your conceptual framework. Okay? Now, your hypothesis, sabi ko nga kanina, should predict outcomes, no? It should not predict no outcomes. Kaya nga sabi ko sa inyo kanina, hindi nyo dapat ini-state in statistical hypothesis, no? Yung statistical hypothesis ninyo. Kasi it should predict outcomes, no? All right? And then it should influence or direct your methodology and the data analysis and interpretation of your findings, and stated in declarative form, no? Alam niyo naman siguro ang declarative form at magkaiba siya sa interrogative, no? So sa makatuwid, no, kung ang inyong research question ay interrogative, nagtatanong, dapat ang hypothesis ang supposed na sagot ninyo sa question ninyo. Okay? So dapat magkarugtong, no? Magka-connect. Hindi naman magkarugtong kasi pag sinabi mo magkarugtong, after chapter 1, hypothesis agad. No. Dapat magka-connect, no? Magka-connect yung inyong research question sa hypothesis. Okay? So here's an example. So for this example, we have a question na what is the correlation between anxiety level and midterm examination scores of level 3 nursing students? Na? So notice that the hypothesis is this. There is a negative correlation between anxiety level and midterm examination scores of level 3 nursing students. Magkasing tunog, no? Magkasing tunog doon sa question, no? Kasi kung naaalala ninyo yung discussion natin last week, ang sinabi natin na format ng inyong question should be in PICO format. May population, ito yun, no? Level 3 students. Intervention, which is yung midterm examination. Okay, yung fact na magkakaroon sila ng midterm examination. The comparison, which is your scores and anxiety level, and your outcome, which is your anxiety level pala, rather. Ito yun, yung outcome. So this is a correct research question. So dapat, if you state your hypothesis, all of the elements of the question, yung PICO, nandito sa loob ng hypothesis. Okay? Plus, yung reminder kanina, yung tips in formulating hypothesis na nandoon yung inyong expected outcome. Okay? Yung expected outcome which is negative correlation. Okay? So anong tulad nga natin sinabi, pag sinabing negative, this is inverse relation. So there is a decreased anxiety level, no? Mataas ang midterm examination score. Tapos baliktad, no? So that's your expected relationship between variables. Okay? Ito pa. So I want you on your own homes to do this. Okay? To do this exercise. No? Okay? Do you have any questions? So if none, you may always send me a direct message. No? You can send me a message to my Facebook account if you want to clarify anything from me. I can also post a discussion thread in our Facebook group, and also you may subscribe to my channel for any updates on any lectures. Okay, so that ends my lecture for today or for this week. I hope to see you again, and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.